What's up?
Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Just fine?
hmm
All right, cool. Yeah, just was driving. Thought I'd join in. Interesting question. Why I'm not a Christian? I think the main. I used to be. I was raised one. I was did missionary work for a long time, but eventually left because I just don't think it's true. I just think it's made up.
Why?
It makes a lot of claims about God's power that when we check in the real world, it's just they're not true.
I mean, what makes Christianity true? Like, if it was true, what would make it true?
So, like, I think about like when I read the Bible, there are things that the Bible says are true that I can't really check on, and I'm not really talking about that. Like, obviously, I can't check to see if Jesus really walked on water or if Mary really was a virgin when she gave birth to Jesus. That's beyond the realm of like investigation. But there are things that the Bible says that God does that I can check on, and that when you do, they're not true. A great example of this is the Bible makes many claims about God being the great physician and healing people, and that is verifiably untrue. There's no single example of a verified medical miracle ever happening.
Where do you get
There's no
that from?
statistical there's no statistical difference between the health outcomes of Christians and non-Christians.
Wait,
Everything that we
where?
would expect.
Oh, I mean, where do you get that? Like, there's no documented miracles from.
Um, that there are verified miracles are miracles that we can go check and look to see if they happened, and they did happen, and none of those exist.
Yeah. So, I mean, have you read Kurt Keener's book,
No,
Miracles? Oh,
no, I
well,
haven't.
it's a documented account of not only just like ancient miracles but modern miracles. There definitely are. There's a lot actually of like
Can you give me an
verified.
example of a miracle that's been verified that I can go check on to see if it's
Yeah,
true?
like off the top of my head, I suck with names. I could tell you stories. But I could pull up the. I see if I could get the book up real quick.
Here's what happens a lot of times when I have a conversation like this with people. They bring up a story that someone says, and then they say, "You see, there it is," and it's like, well, yeah, those stories exist in all religions, and false ones included.
No,
So
I'm
it
talking about
can't
just
just be the story.
no. Like there's. I mean, well, it's not just so like a modern one. I can't remember the person's name, but this person got into a car accident, had to get their intestines taken out. And all right, I'm gonna email this book to myself real quick. But yeah, they had to get their intestines taken out, and their friend from Brazil is like, "Hey, can you come?" He ends up going to Brazil, prays over that person. This dude's intestines grew back. This is verified by the doctor who took his intestines out. Obviously, the person who it happened to, and like the nurses as well. There's plenty of stories like this though. Let me email this book
Yeah,
so I can pull it
yeah,
up.
stories. I mean, like,
No,
so I'll give you a great example. When we go into church and you ask and you listen to people pray, the things they pray for are always going to be things that might happen anyway. You'll hear people saying like, "Oh God, please help this cancer go into remission," because that's something that happens naturally anyway. You will never hear anybody say, "God, please grow this girl's limb, regrow this girl's limb that she lost in a car accident," because nothing like that ever happens. So
well,
even
no,
Christians
I've
basically
seen
understand that God doesn't
stuff.
do.
Yeah,
You've seen limbs regrow.
I've seen people who've been paralyzed walk. But
Yeah, so
what's
that's
the name?
definitely never happened. There's no not documented case of a paralyzed person walking after being prayed for. It does not happen.
Yeah, that's it. That's bro. Like,
No, it doesn't. It literally doesn't. Go ahead, show me the one. Give me a case of
uh,
where somebody's spine was broken, totally. They were a quadriplegic, and then they were prayed over and they started walking. It does not occur. It's a lie from the Bible.
what do you,
It's
bro?
I don't know why you're laughing.
This doesn't because
It's like it's
we're not even talking about the Bible. We're
We are. The Bible says that God's the great physician. He's not. He doesn't do anything. Prayer is powerless. Statistically, what I'm saying is true.
Yeah, no, it's statistically that's not even true. There's
Yes, it is.
no, it's not,
There,
bro. There's
back
literally
when universities, let me give you a great example of this. Back when universities used to be Christian run, we're talking like 300, 400 years ago when the scientific method was first being developed, a lot of theologians were really excited about this new development of the scientific method because they're like, look, we can now use this to prove that Christian prayer has unique effects that like non-Christian prayer doesn't. And they started putting prayer to the test. You can see all kinds of studies done by like early scientists. Isaac Newton did some of these where they tested prayer, they tested these sorts of things over and over again. The statistical analysis showed literally zero results. People who are prayed for don't have better medical outcomes than people who are not prayed for. There is no difference even in modern medicine. People still do these kind of studies. There's no difference in atheist cancer remission rates versus Christians, people who are prayed for versus people who are not prayed for. The promises that God says that we can check on, that God's the great physician, that God answers prayers, when we check to see, are never true.
who'd you
That's a fact.
did you like lose somebody close to you or something?
No, no.
All right, uh, so here,
Yeah, people in the
if you
comments talk
come
about
to
prayers can't be studied precisely because they're fake,
no, there's
because
no
they don't have power.
yeah, that doesn't follow at all.
It
So
does. If a false
hey,
religions also have non-working prayers that the people
okay,
pretend work, right?
here,
Like Hindus talk about how much their prayers work. You and I both know that's not true, right? But they think it works because they're under delusion of their false religion.
yeah, we're not. You're just talking about whether or not like people are healed like miraculously.
That's right. Yeah, because that's an example of the Bible saying something's going to happen that doesn't ever happen.
Yeah, so you could come to his book, right? It's literally called Miracles. It's by Craig Keener. In part 3, section 12, or section 11 as well, you have the supernatural claims in the recent West, and you have like all of his sources, and then specifically with blindness and ability to walk, death, and nature. He goes through a lot of things. One of it starts out with like you could come down here to like the healing of blindness in Africa, and it goes through like you could go and check all of these sources, whatever. Like I'm not gonna read the entire book for you, but it actually is a pretty good read, and this is a scholarly source.
When I was in mission work, I did a lot of ministry in India. I lived there for a few years. The stories of Hindu healings are so like they abound so much. That's actually one of the reasons I started to lose my faith, because I was like, oh, people will believe that these things happen. I know what these miracle claims are going to back up to. They're just going to back up to somebody saying it happened. That's how they always go to. It's the same thing with biblical claims. Like people think that Bible is
Bro,
evidence, but it's just more. It's just
yeah, and you
words.
came up here and you said that you were a Christian and you did mission work, but that's just what you're saying, bro. Those are just people's words. There's like no
That's
real
true. Yeah.
evidence that it happened.
The difference is that through inductive reasoning, there's reason to believe that people do mission work, and so it's easy to say, well, then maybe that's true.
Well,
But
just because something is easy doesn't
miracles
mean
have
that
never
it's
been
true.
verified, you can't believe that.
I'm
That's
literally
true. But
giving
if
you.
someone,
Hold on, wait. I'm
if the
literally
least
giving you
trustworthy,
I'm giving you a source of verified miracles right now.
verified how? Through
You
testimony?
can
Through
you
eyewitness
can look,
testimony?
bro.
No, that's not
It's
verification.
doctors' reports, all of it. What do you expect a miracle to happen again and again and again? It's the reason as to why it's called a miracle.
Yeah, dude, I expect God to be here and present. If the God you believed in were real, everyone would know it. Instead, he's powerless
What's
and does
the argument
nothing.
for
It's
that?
the
What's
same
the
as if he
argument for
didn't
that?
exist.
What's the argument for that?
That no, what's the argument for what?
That if God were real, then everyone would know it.
Because the powers that he claims to have would be so blatantly obvious that everybody would come to the Christian church for any kind of healing.
Who says
People would
that?
pray to the Christian God because
Where do you get that
it would
from?
be powerful. Like you would have you ever had like a medical like problem that was like severe?
Yeah,
Do you know what people would do to like solve that? They'll do anything. They'll try anything. And if there was something actually out there that worked, people would
bro.
try
I
it.
just need.
That's why we
In
know
all
prayer doesn't
honesty,
work.
bro. I really need the argument.
The argument is that the Bible says things are happening in the real world that do not happen.
Like
God's
what?
not the great physician. It doesn't happen.
Like what?
I just said
I'm
it.
giving you I'm giving you examples of where it's happened. I've seen it personally as well. So
Yeah, I mean, your eyewitness testimony, if I give you any credence, I have to give it to the Hindu as well. You understand that?
Do. But that would just
Yeah,
go
okay, well
against
then
your.
that means Hinduism is true as well, and that Shiva
I'm
is
not
actually
saying
healing
that.
people as well.
No, I'm not saying that miracles prove a specific religion. It would just prove the existence of God.
Well, yeah, but it would prove that no, because the Bible claims that Christians get special access to, like, people who pray in faith to the real God get special access. But again, statistically, there is no difference in medical outcomes between any of the faiths or non-faiths.
But where?
So
Here,
that's
what's the study that you're citing?
it's the ones from, like, hold on, man. If I get off my phone or if I go check on my phone, I'm driving, dude. I can't, like, look it up. But
You
there's
just,
just no statistical difference. If there
here,
is a
just
statistical difference,
who
you can
do
show
you know
me.
who put it together or what the title was?
It was a book I read, like, on the issue of miracles. It was a while back.
Who?
It's
That's
just
what
the
it was
same thing, right?
called.
It's the same thing that we don't have any reason to believe that miracles existed. I'd have to look it up, dude.
Well, you get that paper and you could come back then, because you haven't provided any
All right, then.
evidence for any of your claims.
Yeah, I have, dude. There's no statistical relevance to prayer
What
working, so that's
study
it.
are
If
you?
you if
What
you know
study are
any
you
study
citing?
I'm not citing a study.
So you're just saying that it's just a claim.
It's my experience. Yeah.
Well, my experience is that I've seen a miracle happen. Now what? Look at us.
Yeah, so we're just going to compare words. Is that what God wants us to do, to decide, like, which experience, just to go off our experiences? Because if I go off my experience, there's no such thing as God.
I don't think that's even going off of your experience. You're just jumping to conclusions off of like false pretenses.
I think that you're jumping to conclusions based off of faith. So we're both doing the same thing there.
Well, you have a reason for faith. Like, we can go to show
No,
that God exists.
faith is a reasonless belief. That's why you use faith.
What?
Faith is what you
No.
use when you don't have a reason. That's why Bible says that faith is the evidence. It, like, replaces the evidence. I don't have evidence, so I'll use faith. Faith is the evidence of things unseen.
No, so the reason that's literally why the epistle of Peter says that you're supposed to give a reason for your faith. Anytime anyone is asked, you're supposed to have a reason for it. Faith is not a lack of evidence. That's so, like, I
Your
have
faith is the
faith.
evidence.
I have faith that I'm gonna wake up tomorrow, right? But
No,
that faith
you
is
have inductive reasoning. That's different.
no. You have faith because you can't be sure, right?
That's
But
not
you
what
have,
faith is. That's inductive reasoning.
yeah. So, like,
Faith
I
is when you
know.
don't have previous experiences.
Where do you get that from?
Inductive reasoning is whenever you have experiences. Like, when I start my car, 99.9% of the time that I turn the ignition switch, it turns on. So I have a previous set of experiences to base my prediction that the next time that I turn the ignition, that it's going to turn on. That's inductive reasoning. Faith is when you don't have a previous experience of something and then you believe it anyway. Right.
Do
So,
you have
like,
you have a previous?
if you ask a Muslim, like, did Muhammad split the moon in two when the doubter questioned him? He would say yes. You say, well, how do you know? It's like, well, I have my faith. So faith, there's no reason to believe that Muhammad
Yeah,
split
no,
the moon in two, but faith confirms it.
there would be a reason to believe that. If the Quran were true, then there would be reason to believe said thing.
The Quran is where you get the claim. So you can't
You
have the
don't even
claim
get that
and the
claim
proof be in
you
the same
don't get that
source.
claim in the Quran.
Whatever, you get it from Muhammad. Muhammad is you can't be the claimant and the prover of the claim. That doesn't make sense. It has to be
No.
verified separately.
So we can reason that God exists. I can reason that God is Jesus, the one who died and rose again historically, right? So I can have faith in the things that he says. I have a reason for my belief.
All right, what's the reason that you believe that Jesus is God, such that if you didn't have that reason, you wouldn't believe that he was God?
The historical evidence for the resurrection, the continued miracles in his name as well, the fulfillment of prophecy.
So if you didn't have the Bible, you wouldn't believe Jesus was God? Like
Nah,
the historical evidence there?
you don't need the Bible to prove that Jesus is God necessarily. People believe that Jesus was God and they didn't have the Bible.
Okay, so what's the reason that if you lost it, would lose your belief that he's God?
If I lost the Bible,
No, what's the reason that if you lost that reason, you'd also lose your belief?
if Jesus didn't rise from the dead,
All right. How do you know he rose from the dead?
the historical evidence for the resurrection.
What's the historical evidence that if you didn't have, you would no longer believe that he rose from the dead?
I mean, I think we could just go off the minimal facts.
What does that mean?
So there's a argument called the minimal facts argument, which just takes what damn near all scholars agree on regarding Christ. So the first is that he died by crucifixion under Pontius Pilate. His disciples firmly believed to have seen him risen from the dead. His enemies firmly believed to see him risen from the dead, and the tomb is empty. I think the only thing that best accounts for all of these facts is that the resurrection happened.
Where do you get evidence for an empty tomb? Where's that from?
Yeah, so the crucifixion, his death, and him being taken off of the tomb is taken off of the crucifixion is detailed in some of the earlier sources that we have.
No, there's no sources of crucifixion of Jesus other than the Bible.
That's not true. I don't know where you got that from.
Can you show me a contemporary claim, a contemporary source of his crucifixion?
Yeah, that's just not a Christian.
Anybody?
Yeah.
I mean, other than the Bible.
Yeah, like a lot.
Show me. Show.
Okay.
No, there's not.
Okay, I have.
There isn't a single historical example of or claim about Jesus and being crucified other than the Bible. That's not true, dude.
Okay. Well, here's Josephus.
Josephus did not talk about him dying on the cross. That's not true.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay. So here's his quote. So tell me if he's talking about it or not. All right. Do you read Greek?
No.
Okay, so we'll read it in English then. And in this time there was a certain Jesus, a wise man, if one ought to call him a man, for he was a doer of incredible deeds, a teacher who received truisms with pleasure, and he bought over from among the Jews and many from among the Greeks. He was thought to be the Christ. And when Pilate had condemned him to the cross at the accusation of the first men among us, those who were first devoted to him did not cease to be so. For on the third day it seemed to them that he was alive again, given that the divine prophets had spoken of such things and thousands of wonderful things about him. And up till now, the tribe of Christians who were named from him has not disappeared. Tell me if he's talking about the crucifixion when it says that Pilate had him condemned to the cross. Is that talking about the crucifixion?
It is.
Okay. So is that somebody outside the Bible that's talking about the crucifixion?
Yeah, sure.
Okay. You want another one?
No, I'm wrong on that. It doesn't. Look, here's the thing. You can't use people's claims to establish like miracles. It just doesn't work that way.
You want a
can't
Roman
say
historian?
These people said a thing. Huh?
He's a historian, by the way. You want a Roman historian?
Look, you don't understand how like miracles get established. You can't just say, well, people believed it, so it must be true.
That's not what I said.
But that's why, yeah, it is. You said that disciples believed it.
I said that,
and they were convinced enough by it that they would die for it.
No, I gave 4 minimal facts. And I said the only thing that best.
Yeah, but when I asked about it,
explains.
I asked about the empty tomb fact. That was a minimal fact. I asked, how do you know there was an empty tomb?
Yeah, because
his
the
death
earliest
is like so irrelevant. People die. People don't raise from the dead.
No, it's that he died by crucifixion under Pontius Pilate.
Cool. You also said that there was an empty tomb was your third minimal fact. I'm asking you about that.
Yes, because the earliest sources that we have, the first century sources, explain that he was taken off of the cross and buried in a tomb, as well as the testimonies of the people who tried to deny
I'm
the
asking about the empty tomb.
Yes, that's why I said the people.
Okay, so where's the empty tomb? Where do you find an empty tomb?
In Jerusalem.
There are 7 tourist sites that all claim to be the one. Which one is it?
It doesn't matter.
How do you know? It does, because that's how exactly how these lies get hidden, is in these like details.
What?
Right? If
No,
it's a lie, you're going to hide it behind the uninvestigatability of which tomb is it? Oh, it doesn't matter. There's an empty one. Like
no,
anybody can find an empty
what?
hole and be like, "Oh, Jesus rose from this one." And in fact,
No,
7
no,
people have done that in the tourist
no,
sites in
no,
Jerusalem. Which one is
no.
the right
So,
one?
yeah, no. So, all you would need is that Christ was buried in a tomb, and the tomb, or the testimony that the tomb being empty, and people are claiming to have seen this dude risen from the dead to the point that they die for said thing. Right? That's
Yeah,
what
people
you.
die for lies all the time. That doesn't matter.
Yeah, that's
People are confused.
yeah, and that's cool, right? You're saying that people die for lies. People don't die for something that they know to be a lie. So
That's
that's
not
why.
true. People die for things they know that to be a lie all the time.
Like who?
Gang members who are taking the fall for their leader.
They don't die for said thing.
Yeah, they might. They might go into
Who?
death
Do you
row.
have an example?
Yeah, people in the mob, like the guy who died for Whitey Ford. I don't remember who.
Who?
If I can come up with an example of somebody who died knowing that they didn't commit it, would you stop believing in Jesus? No, it doesn't matter.
No,
The
it
point is that
does.
this
It does because
testimony.
no.
I asked
So
you where the empty tomb was, and you said testimonies.
no, no. You said what's the evidence for the empty tomb? That's why I was explaining
No, I
to
said,
you
how
how
do you
we
know there's an
know.
empty tomb? And you
Yes,
said
because
testimony. So it goes back again to people talking
how do you
about it.
think you know that anything is historical?
History is a fuzzy thing. You can't really know 100%, but we can get to like reasonable conclusions
Oh,
sometimes.
okay. And I'm saying that the reasonable conclusion, given the historical evidence, is that Jesus Christ actually rose from the dead. I can know that he was
No,
buried in a
because all you
tomb.
have is some
I can know that
testimonies.
he
That's
was
not
buried.
enough, dude.
How do you know that anything is historical again?
You realize that there's more than testimony that like Abraham Lincoln was 16th president, right? There's more
Yeah.
than testimony. We have writings from Jesus or from Abraham Lincoln. We have like all kinds of other like primary source documents, not just testimony. We have his like clothes. There's all sorts of like reason. There's no
You're talking
with
about a
Jesus
dude
and
who's
his
in a.
miracles. All there is talk. It's
No,
just talk.
there's not.
Okay, so
You,
what's the non-talk
bro.
about the
Obviously,
resurrection?
I don't know like what you went through, but you're not in a actual like search for what's true. You're just upset. I don't know why you're upset.
Yeah, character assaults don't like answer the question.
This is
Is
not
there
a
anything other than
character
talk for the
assault.
resurrection? Talking about me as if I'm hurt, like it's not
Bro,
true.
you
I
don't
just
care
think
about
this is.
you don't care about the evidence. You don't care about what's true.
I just
I
asked
can
you,
tell that
how
you're
do you
just
know that the
hurt.
resurrection happened, and you said testimony. You said people talked about it and were willing to die for it.
Brother,
That's
this
like
is
obviously the most like
no,
basic, like
that's
nothing.
not no. So I gave 4 facts, and I'm saying the best thing, the only thing that I think best summarizes or gives the like a adequate conclusion to all of these facts is the resurrection. You don't just take one of the evidences by itself. That doesn't make any sense.
The first two aren't evidences at all.
How
The
is that not
first two are
evidence?
that a guy named Jesus existed. Great. That
That's
doesn't prove he raised from the dead. The
that
second was
wasn't the
that a
first.
person. You said that there were people that are around him that testified, or that their historical accounts. Let me repeat the 4. Maybe I got them wrong. First one is that Jesus existed,
That's not the
had a
first.
ministry. What was the first one?
That he died by crucifixion under Pontius Pilate.
Oh, I thought that was the second one. Okay, the first one was he died by crucifixion under Pontius Pilate. Does that have anything to do with the resurrection?
Yes.
Can people die by crucifixion under Pontius Pilate and not be raised from the dead?
Yeah. But they, if
Okay,
in
then it
order to
doesn't have
be
anything to do with the resurrection.
in order to be raised from the dead, you have to die, right?
Everybody dies. That's not evidence for a resurrection. Okay, so what was the second one? Everybody dies. How is that evidence that they rose from the dead? It's not. It's an irrelevant point. So we're down to 3 minutes.
If I'm sitting here and I'm saying that, hey, bro, you rose from the dead, but you never died, wouldn't that be evidence against you rising from the dead because you never died?
Yeah.
Oh, so in order to prove that you actually rose from the dead, I would have to first go to show that you died, huh?
Okay, yeah, but that's not going to convince it. The
Oh,
fact that
okay.
you can show that
Okay.
somebody died doesn't mean that you're going to be like,
Okay.
oh, I guess I'm
Do you
now,
see?
now I'm in. Let me
Do
listen
you see
more.
how like
It
you're
doesn't make
not?
any
You
sense.
see how you're not genuine?
I am genuine, dude. The fact that he died has no bearing on whether he rose from the dead.
You
don't understand how
literally
that's a
just
point.
you literally just agreed with what I just said, and now you're saying it has no bearing.
Well, it doesn't have any bearing.
How does it not have any
If
bearing?
he died, obviously he had to die if he was going to be raised from the dead, but that's like
Oh,
proving that he died doesn't get you any closer to proving that he rose from the dead, correct?
that's why you take all the facts.
Okay, but I'm saying that fact is irrelevant. You're trying to get to 4
How is
to like
that?
add some like,
How is that irrelevant? If he did not
because
die,
I know that he died. Everyone knows that he died. The guy was born 2,000
why?
years ago.
Why do you know that he died? How do you know that?
Because he lived. People who live die.
It's well, some people question as to whether or not Christ lived, that he was real. Some people say that he's just a figment of an
Not me.
imagination.
I'm only responding to your argument.
Well, you said that there was no evidence outside of the Bible talking about his crucifixion. So now the evidence of his crucifixion doesn't matter?
It doesn't matter to the claim of the miracle. It matters to the claim of like historicity. Sure, yeah. He
Yeah, so
existed,
the
that's
reason
fine.
as to why it matters is because we can be sure that he died. So then it puts into question what explains the other facts. If we know for a fact that this person died by crucifixion under Pontius Pilate, this gives a time as to when he was unalived, and it gives the way in which he was unalived. So we know by crucifixion, people don't survive full crucifixions. We can be certain that this man died. He was dead. So now, what best explains the other facts? We know for a fact that his disciples firmly believed to have seen him risen from the dead. We do know that. Okay, why do
I
they?
don't know that we know
Maybe.
that.
Okay, we can look at the historical evidence for said thing. It doesn't seem like you're actually genuine at all. It
I
just
am.
seems like
I don't
you're
know what to tell
upset.
you.
It just seems like you're upset with God. I don't know how to help you with that,
I'm
bro.
not upset with God. I don't believe in God. I think he's a myth.
Okay, we
I think
could
that
we have
God belief infects
logical
people and takes
arguments.
people away from their true selves.
Okay, but there's logical philosophical arguments that go to show the existence of God. Love you. Yeah, me too.
Yeah, I don't. I've heard them all. The arguments only get you to a
Oh,
hypothesis. You can't
what do you
verify
think
those.
of
So
the argument for motion?
the argument from motion
Yeah, you heard them all. I don't know why you said motion like that. I'm sure
is
you
it like
heard
the
it.
prime mover argument?
The argument for motion. You know it. What do you think of it?
Like the prime. I mean, okay, I overstated all. Are you talking about the prime mover argument? Like there had to be a prime mover. If there's motion, there had to be like a first mover.
What's motion?
No, I'm saying if there's motion, there had to be a prime mover. Is that your
Yeah,
argument, or is that
yeah,
the motion argument?
yeah.
Yeah, it's a ridiculous argument. It doesn't make any sense.
What's
It
wrong
doesn't
with
prove
it?
anything. You don't know that there was a prime mover, but that's only conjecture. So
What, you could use a
God
deductive
therefore is
argument.
conjecture.
What are you talking about?
You cannot. There's no way to investigate where with the beginning of the world. So all you're doing is
We're not
arguing, creating
talking.
a
Oh, not.
hypothesis.
I don't know why you would bring that up because the prime mover argument doesn't have anything to do with the beginning of the world. The universe could be eternal. The argument would still work. That's a weird thing to
How
bring up
so?
if you know about the argument.
How so? The prime mover is the first mover. So there before that would not be eternal
Yeah, it's not talking
or
about
eternity.
a order of events or a sequence of events. That's another weird thing to bring up when talking about the argument. That's not the argument for motion. You want me to run? You want me to tell you what the actual argument for
Yeah,
motion
go ahead.
is? Okay, so it's
Go
that
ahead.
change exists and change is the actualization of potential, which is pretty much just saying that things go from what they could be to what they are. Do you have a problem with that, or do
Okay.
you not believe that change exists either?
No, things change.
Okay, and change is the actualization of potential, but a potential cannot actualize itself. Therefore, whatever changes is actualized by something already actual. You have a problem with that, or are you good?
I don't think I have a problem with that.
Okay. This leads to a chain of actualizers, each depending on the thing prior to it to cause its change in the here and now. But a chain of such actualizers to go on for infinity is impossible. Therefore, this chain must terminate in the
Why?
first. Because in the type of causal series that we're talking about, it's called a per se causal series. So I'll give you an analogy so that you can understand it. So think of it like
Sure.
I plug my phone into a charger that's plugged into an extension cord. W screensaver, by the way. But I plug my phone into a charger that's plugged into an extension cord that's not plugged into the wall. Will my phone ever be charged?
No.
Okay. What if I plug that extension cord into another extension cord that's not plugged into the wall? Would it be charged?
No.
Okay. So even if this chain goes on for a very long time, if I see that my phone is charged, that means that there must be something that is actually giving power and is the source of said power, rather than just receiving that power down, rather than just receiving that power. Let me so if this chain can't go on forever, as you're acknowledging with the analogy, then it has to terminate in a first. This first is purely actual, and by a purely actual being is what we mean by God. Therefore, God exists.
I mean, that's a interesting hypothesis. How do you go and then do the work to verify it?
Yeah. So did you not just hear the argument that was put forth?
Arguments don't get you past the hypothesis stage. If you're gonna
What
go
are
from a
you
hypothesis
talking
to
about?
if you go from a hypothesis to a belief, you have to put it through a process of verification. You don't just say, "Oh, this is my argument. It must," and I can't think of another way of explaining it, so it must be true. That's
What?
just
No.
incredulity.
What? Incredulity?
That's right. Yeah, there are other ways to explain where things come from other than a god. You could just say the universe was this, like the thing that
No, you
actualized.
can't.
You can insert whatever hypothesis you want in
No,
there,
no, you
but then you
can't.
have to do the work of verification. And
No,
since the
you,
tools don't exist to verify, that's why
yes,
it's unknowable.
we could verify such things.
You
So
can verify that God is the source of all this, that the
yes, because
Christian God is the source of all that. How?
a purely actual. First, don't skip steps. So I'm glad that now you're able to see that there is a purely actual being that exists, and this purely actual
I didn't
being,
say being. I did not admit that. You don't know that it's
being
a
just
being with a
means,
mind. You're
yeah.
just
So
making that up.
we can go to prove that. Do you want me to go to prove that?
You cannot, dude. You're going to argue it. You're not going to prove it. You're just going to make an argument.
Do you know what an argument is?
Yeah.
Okay, so if an argument is a list of
Arguments don't prove things, right? They just don't. Arguments form hypotheses. That's it.
what are you talking about?
Once you form a let me give you an example, dude. You know how, like, do you know the difference between Newtonian and Einsteinian, like, physics? You know how those are, like, different fundamentally?
Yeah, that has nothing to do with what we're talking about.
When
Right?
Einstein was trying to show that Newtonian physics was false, he made a lot of arguments and nobody believed him. He made math, he put math forward, he put the equations forward, and nobody believed him. A few people did, but for the most part, it was just a hypothesis. Then what he had to do was find something in the real world where Newtonian physics made a prediction that Einsteinian physics disagreed with, and
Bro,
then test
that's
that prediction.
yeah,
And then he found out that the prediction came true under his math, and that's when people believed him.
yeah,
So
that
the
has nothing
argument
to do.
only gets you to a hypothesis. That's it. You want to pretend that it gets you to proof
No,
because you have nothing else.
So when we say argument, we're referring to a demonstration. Did he leave?
No,
Or he's still there? Oh, he's still there.
yeah, I'm here. Yeah.
Yeah,
That's
so
what
when
I
we say
want. I want a
argument, we're talking
demonstration.
about a demonstration.
You can't demonstrate something with, like, logic. Logic isn't sufficient
Yeah,
for
yeah, you
demonstration.
can.
You cannot.
Where's Cam?
Yeah.
You cannot.
So, for example, if I were to take these two statements, right? All men are mortal. That's the first. And then I took the second statement, Socrates is a man. I could then use logic to infer from those two statements that Socrates is mortal. This is called universal instantiation.
Yeah, I
So
understand
yes,
that.
you can prove things by using
Let me
logical
refresh
inference.
my statement. You can't establish new types of entities through, like, logic, right? If somebody told
What
me
is a new
that they
type
thought
of entity?
a god, I don't know that there's a god. It's a brand new thing. Nobody's ever demonstrated one. So if you're going to, like, argue that there's a god, all you're going to do is get to a hypothesis. You need to demonstrate that there's a god in the real world,
Bro,
not in the word
arguments
world.
and demonstration is being used synonymously.
That's the error. That's right. That's the error
That's
you're
not the
making.
error. It's just how we're
It
using,
is an
telling you
error.
how we're using the
No.
term.
Here's
Look,
the
if it
ultimate
makes
problem
you
here. I
feel
want to
any
be really
better,
clear here.
if it makes you feel any
The
better, you
only
can just
place I
replace the
can
word
find
argument
God
for
is in
demonstration.
people's words about him. Do you understand
Okay,
that?
well,
The only place you can find God is in words about him. It's the same as
if it
Zeus,
make,
by the way.
can you like chill out? If it makes you feel better, we can just replace the word argument for demonstration.
It won't make me feel better
Just the
because you're
same
not
way
going to
we
demonstrate it by
demonstrated
arguing
that
it.
Socrates is mortal from a set of premises, we can demonstrate the existence of a prime mover from a set of premises. And that's what he
The
did
set of
earlier.
premises about
Earlier when he was
Socrates being
talking to you
mortal.
about change and an infinite regress of movers, he was listing out the set of premises that lead you to the conclusion that there is a prime mover.
I don't know. I just the whole thing of like, hey, there's this being who wants to have a relationship with you. It's like, okay, well, how do you know that? Or where is he? Oh, he's
Why are
invisible.
you? This is not
Okay,
relevant.
well, it is
No,
relevant
it's not. We're
because
talking
if
about
God
the
were real and
demonstration
wanted a
that was
relationship with
used.
me, I wouldn't have to like go to some hyper esoteric, like
This
Cornelius Van Til kind of like argument. You would just know that God was existed, like I know my father exists. An
no.
absentee father getting like an argument is just so powerless and basic. I don't want a relationship with somebody that doesn't do anything.
And there it
All right.
There's no
goes.
relationship
So
to be had. It's just
again, you're not
There,
you're not engaging with the demonstration that was
exactly.
put forth, right? So, for example,
it's not a demonstration, it's an
someone,
argument.
if I were someone that wanted to deny the conclusion that Socrates was mortal, and then someone presented the argument, all men are mortal, Socrates is a man, therefore Socrates is mortal. If someone presented that to me and I wanted to deny the conclusion, I would have to because this syllogism is what it's called. Because this syllogism uses a valid inference, which means if the two premises are true, the conclusion is necessarily true. I would either have to deny one of those two propositions, either the fact that all men
Yeah.
are mortal or that Socrates is a man, right? So he gave you a syllogism earlier with the conclusion that there is a prime mover. Now, to my knowledge, the syllogism he gave you was valid. And so if you want to deny that conclusion, you would have to deny one of the premises. That's how you engage an argument. Which
I don't. Here's the problem with that. I don't know how the universe. I don't know what it's made out of. I don't know how it started. I don't know if there was a
okay.
beginning. The tools to investigate that question don't exist. And so I was simply like agreeing with that till we
Brother,
could get to the end of
brother,
it.
you can
The
Because at
problem
the
with
believe.
what
same
you're
at
saying,
the very end of the day, everything that you're saying is just words, and
again,
there
the
is no
problem,
demonstration. And that's why when I came in, I
everything
talked
we're
about God
saying is
being the great
words.
physician.
Well, like you want us
That's
to say
right, but
things
it
that
wouldn't be if
it's
it was real
impossible to say
power.
something that's not a word, dude.
Yeah, but you could demonstrate
Look,
something that's not a word, right?
look,
If
look,
God
look.
if God was the great physician, you could
Look, the
demonstrate that
issue
without
with what
words, right?
you're saying, please pay attention. The issue with what you're saying is that you don't know how the universe started and yada yada.
That's right.
Nothing in his syllogism even included the term universe. It was not mentioned not once. So when you bring that up, you're talking about something different than what he's talking about.
I'm talking about the set of all things that existence exists. That's what I'm talking
Again,
about.
the
I don't know
set of
why
all
existence
things,
exists.
another term that was never used in his argument.
It doesn't matter if the term was used. The
Yes,
idea
it
is
does.
that
You're
the
not denying
it
the
does that
argument, bro.
the causal part of all this is a God, a prime mover of all this.
That's the
What is this that we're
conclusion,
talking
dude.
about?
Like,
Right, but what is
obviously
this
you're
that we're
denying
talking
the
about?
conclusion.
What is it that you're saying that God created
If no one
in this
said,
prime mover thing?
bro, no one mentioned anything saying about creation, the start of the universe, anything like that. No one said anything like
So
that.
what
So
is it that
here,
you're saying God is upholding?
it's either you disagree with one of the premises or the conclusion just necessarily follows. If you don't disagree with any of the premises, then the conclusion necessarily follows.
Yeah, I just don't think that arguments get you to what you're talking about. I
Then you
think it's
just
weak.
don't know what an argument is.
Yeah.
I think that the God that you believe in claims to have powers that you can't demonstrate, and that's a problem. And
Yeah,
that's the
I'm
end of
gonna
it.
He
just.
gave you a
Whether
demonstration
I
that
agree with some hyper esoteric argument is irrelevant.
oh my days.
Yeah, I'm gonna move
The
on.
people you label prophets.
And this is exactly what I said. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. He just doesn't want to believe in God. That's it.
Yeah, they complain that the argument for motion is ridiculous, yet they don't actually take the time to understand it or engage with it.
He just don't. He just don't want to believe in God. That's fine. I'd rather deal with the dude that's just like, well, I just don't want to believe, and then tight.
So frustrating.
Hello?
Yeah, what's up?
What's up? No, I literally just joined the live and I was like, oh, I'm curious because you said, I just saw the thing like, why aren't you Christian?
Are you Christian?